Lights, camera, action.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be talking about Christopher Nolan's newest film, The Odyssey. So The Odyssey tells a story about a guy named Odysseus who has spent like 10 years fighting this Trojan War, and he's spending a very long time just to trying to get his way back home, who's having to go through his own trials and tribulations and just really taking its toll just for, to get back home. Meanwhile, a lot of stuff is going on back at his kingdom where essentially somebody is trying to step in to take his place on the throne. So this is a movie that I was very much looking forward to. It's a movie that I only saw like the little teaser trailer like a year ago, and then I finally saw like the one full trailer they put out. I avoided any of the other trailers, but for me, I thought the trailers did a really good job of getting me hyped up for the movie. I was really excited for it. I did see online where apparently there's a lot of people that thought the trailers looked like crap, and it didn't do anything for them. To each their own, I guess, but to me, I was really hyped up for this movie. I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan. You can call me a Nolan fanboy if you want to, but I've enjoyed pretty much every movie he's done. I think he's a brilliant director, so I was really interested to see what he was going to do with this story. But I will be honest with you, this is a movie that really made me feel a lot of different emotions, really throughout the entire movie, which is something that I really was not expecting. And I think that just goes from, the standpoint and the storytelling of Christopher Nolan and what he was actually able to bring, how he was able to bring this story to life. And I don't know, it just made me feel a lot of stuff, and it's a movie I really walked away really enjoying. Now, I know this movie is shrouded in controversy, and I might touch on that later, maybe near the end of the video. We'll see how that goes. But as for right now, I really just want to focus on the review and talk about the things that I liked about it and what I enjoyed, and things of that nature. I know controversy is just an easy topic to really get clicks and views nowadays, and it's really not a lot of stuff I'm interested in. I'm really interested here to tell you about the movie and my feelings and how it just made me feel and how I recommend, if I would recommend, this movie and things like that. So the controversy stuff is very secondary to me, very back burner stuff for me. I'm not really interested in all that. So let's talk about the movie. So like I said before, this movie is directed by Christopher Nolan, and anybody that's seen a Christopher Nolan movie, going into this movie that it's going to be just epic on every scale. It's going to have beautiful shots, beautiful locations, everything is going to be in camera, which is something I feel a lot of people nowadays don't do. It's that trend of, oh, we'll fix it in post-production, or we'll add that later, we'll CGI that later, whatever. But Christopher Nolan really does a lot of things where he, takes you to real locations, really uses 1,000 extras if he needs it, really tries to do his best to make everything as practical as possible. And let me tell you, when a director does that, it really pays off in the end because it really makes your movie look so much better. And your end result is a million times better than anything that would have been CGI'd or anything done in post-production. Don't get me wrong, I know for a fact there is CGI and some, shots like that in this movie, but he uses as much practical stuff as he possibly can. And that is something I really appreciate. Not only him as a director, but just him as a filmmaker, that he has that much care and appreciation in him, in the story that he wants to tell, that he is able to really, know that he probably knows deep down that it's going to be a huge pain in the ass and inconvenient to try to get some of these shots and really film a lot of it. He's willing to do all that because he's doing it for the love of the game. He loves filmmaking. He loves films. So you can tell that this movie has all that in it, and it was just made and really came from a place of passion. There are shots in this movie that I don't even know how you would go about filming. Like, there is things that, between certain things in the storms and on boats and whatnot, that, especially with the rig of the IMAX camera, how they filmed the entire movie with that IMAX camera, it's just mind-boggling to me. That's something I would really love to stand, like, on set and just watch how they just slowly put all this stuff together, because it's stuff that, in my head, I just can't fathom how they would try to do this. So, of course, a lot of the locations and the scale of it is epic and beautiful, and the movie looks fantastic from start to finish. It looks like a Christopher Nolan movie, and it just has that Christopher Nolan feel about it that he brings to his movies. And like I said, to him, to the storytelling, down to the cinematography of how each of these locations are, and how they kind of bring their own life to the story and what he's trying to tell with the locations and push the story forward. It's all immaculately done, and I think it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful to look at. And I kind of mentioned this in my Death of Robin Hood review as well, that even down to some of the scenes that feel like they have natural lighting to them. There's a lot of scenes where it's just lit by fire and things like that, and it looks so aesthetically pleasing to look at. There's something about the darkness when an actor is just lit by fire that you can have these people are having conversations back and forth, or that they're just doing, these epic scales of battle and whatnot like that. I think there's something about natural lighting that doesn't get utilized a lot, that I don't know for sure if he did use just all natural lighting in certain aspects of this movie, but the scenes where it's like, fireplaces and darkness and whatnot like that, I think it looks very appealing to look at. And it's just one of those things that I tip my hat to because I love little things like that. I love that there are certain sequences in this movie as well that make you feel almost claustrophobic in a way, almost feel like you're trapped, and it really kind of builds tension. There's a lot of that in this movie. Certain scenes of tension really throughout this movie, but I like how it's done. There's a lot of scenes where, our characters are on these boats and these horrific storms and things like that will happen, but it makes you feel trapped even though you're in this gigantic, wide, ocean, endless ocean. You're still stuck on this teeny boat with like nowhere to go. So it gives you that hint of like you're just trapped there, like you're isolated there, and it kind of helps build that tension and that anxiety that you would have. And there's also a great scene that if you've seen the trailer that involves a Cyclops. The whole scene is really well done. It is filled with tension from the minute they enter the cave to when, them trying to figure out how to get out of it. The stuff that happens in the middle while they're trying to figure out how to escape this situation, and while our Cyclops is over here enjoying his custom manwich, shall you say, while all that stuff is going on, I think it does a great job of building and ratcheting tension. And like I said, there are multiple scenes in this movie that really carry that all the way through. And like for me, like I said, when I was feeling a bunch of different emotions throughout it, that is a big one for me. There was multiple times in this movie that I felt very tense and very on the edge of my seat. I think the score is absolutely incredible in this movie. Ludwig Göransson again comes back to do the score for Christopher Nolan, and he just does a really great job. Like there are certain scenes, like the one I was just talking about with the whole scene in the cave with the Cyclops, but there are scenes that are just absolutely elevated by the music. Like there's something that he'll take within that score, and whatever scene is happening on screen, it will absolutely just completely elevate the scene. Like the whole thing with the Cyclops, the music that he chooses for that, and the score that he goes about with that throughout that scene is just incredible. And really throughout everything, with the epic battle sequences down to the more quieter one-on-one moments with people, I think all of it is masterfully done. Like there's something in there that's just a beautifully like haunting, eerie type score at times to it. So there's a lot of that throughout the movie. It's always fascinating to me how certain composers, figure out how to do certain scores or how they come up with the music and all that things like that when it comes to certain scenes. And this is one, like I said earlier, with watching Christopher Nolan shoot scenes, that I would like to be in a room when he's like composing these scenes and coming up with the music, just to see what inspires him, because I think stuff like that's really interesting. But everything, like I said, that he does for the score in this movie from the beginning to the end, whatever scene that it is showing on the screen, it just takes and elevates it tenfold. As a huge horror fan, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that are actually kind of creepy and like have that horror feel to them a lot that I was not expecting. There's even a scene in this movie that's like a full-on body horror scene that really caught me off guard, that I was like, wow. It was just really well crafted and really well done and really effective with what it was really trying to go for. It was just something that really caught me off guard and something I was just not expecting at all. But there's like scenes like that. There's a scene where these people have to come up out of the ground. That's all I'm going to say about it. That was just really effective how they did that, and just really something eerie about it. And I love the fact that there's those little moments in this movie like that. And it really makes me wonder what Christopher Nolan could do with a horror movie. I know he's said that he would love to do a horror movie. It just all depends on the story, and he's yet to kind of come across any kind of story or hear a story that really has made him want to do something like that. So I really hope one day down the road something really hits him to where we can get almost like this horror movie from Christopher Nolan. I think that would be a very, very interesting movie. Now I want to just talk about our roster of actors that we have in this movie. This is a huge ensemble. I mean, you have a lot of really damn good actors in this movie, and I think every actor is really great at what they're given. I think, like, a lot of them have more screen time than others, but I love the fact that they feel like they want to be there. They're given everything they have into the role that they're given, and you really believe them. It's the same way with how they go about acting certain scenes. A lot of the times you can see and feel what they're going through or what they're trying to express, and a lot of the times it's with no dialogue. You can just see the pain or the fear or whatever it is on their face, especially when it comes to Anne Hathaway's character. I feel like there's a lot of times where she has to really express what she's going through, and I believed everything that she was feeling and dealing with, and everything she just put on the screen, I just felt all of it. And it's the same way with Matt Damon's character. I feel like, you really believe that he wants to get home, but he's also conflicted by other things that I don't want to give away and talk about, which I know this story is, a massively old story, but it's one of those things that, Christopher Nolan might like to add some surprises and whatnot here and there, so I don't want to give anything away. Plus, there's a lot of people that don't know the story, and I'll be honest, I knew nothing about this story. I've always heard of Homer and the Odyssey and whatnot, but I absolutely knew nothing about the story. So that could be another reason why I liked it as much as I did. But I think every actor, like I said, just does a great job with what they're given. And it's really great to see Tom Holland really stretch his legs a little bit. I've been very curious and wanted to see him do more stuff as an actor outside of Spider-Man. I really enjoy him as Spider-Man, but he did a movie on Netflix a few years ago called The Devil All the Time. And I think that's a really good movie. I think it was something that was definitely new for him as an actor, so it was cool to see him do that. So it's really cool to see him stretch his legs and come do a movie like this. And I hope he's able to kind of get more roles like this in the future where he can really expand more of his acting. I really enjoyed him. I thought he did a really good job. And Robert Pattinson, I have to say, is that I think his role in this movie is... I don't think anybody else could have played him. I think Robert Pattinson is a fantastic actor. I love him as an actor. I just think he's got just such a great range where he can play people that you just really like and can get along with and people that you absolutely despise. And in this movie, he is absolutely a character that you cannot stand with every ounce of your being. You cannot stand him. So you're just the whole time, you're just like, man, I can't wait to see this character get his comeuppance. And like, you're waiting for that for the entire movie. And he sails it. Like, he's such a just despicable snake of a character, but he plays it so damn well. And I honestly thought that all the actors that, when they were together, whether it be they had certain scenes together with just one-on-one or they had like big group scenes together, I thought all the actors that they chose in this ensemble, they all had really great chemistry. I thought their chemistry with each other was really good. I believed in what they were talking about, what they were going through. I believed in the situation that they were in. I believed just in the story, and I think all that really is what helped pull me into the story even more, because I actually cared about these characters. I really cared about what they were going through, all this stuff that they were experiencing, the heartbreak and the tragedy and everything that was the unknown of it all. And I really felt all that, especially like there's so much unknowing whether or not if he was going to get home, if someone else was going to take his spot and all that stuff like that. And I just felt like it was so well done that I believed in every bit of that. And like I said, I think that's what really just pulled me into this story even more. And as for Matt Damon playing our lead role, I thought he was fantastic. For the longest time, I have to admit, I was never huge on Matt Damon. Like, I don't know what it was. There was just something where I was like, I don't know. Like, I just don't... He's not my favorite actor. I don't know what it is. But lately, over the past, 6 years or so, the movies that he's done and the choices he's done has really brought me around to him. I've really grown to really like him and appreciate the projects that he's chosen. And I honestly think this might be one of the best roles that he's done. I think he's just great in everything that he does. And this man has to go through hell in order to, get back home and the things that he has to go through. And just like I just said with our other actors, I believed everything that he was going through, everything that he was dealing with, physically, mentally. I believed all of it. And I believed truly that this man just wanted to get home. And there's other things that he's kind of dealing with mentally that I don't want to talk about that is just a really cool kind of thing to add in there that I also really enjoyed. That really, again, it's one of those things where I just really believed in what he was dealing with and going through. And I thought Matt Damon sold it, and I really thought he was great in this role. One of the other things I really enjoyed about this movie was that there's a lot of back and forth in this movie. There's a lot of storytelling between different characters. So with that, there's a lot of stuff going on in present time, a lot of stuff going on in the past, and it goes back and forth a lot throughout the movie. But it does such a great job to where you're, at least for me, I was invested in every story that was being told, because at some point all of it is going to come together. So you're just waiting for that moment for all of it to get caught up and kind of come come together and come to where you are and all the knowledge that you know now throughout the movie. But they do such a great job of really walking that fine line of keeping you invested in both stories. There are a lot of times when movies try to do that to where you're more interested in one story over the other. So you're always, when it cuts to one story, you're like, oh, God, I don't care about this. Let's get back to this story or these characters. In this case, it wasn't that for me at all. You're so invested with both characters that when it did these transitions between our characters and their storytelling, that you're invested enough in both stories that it never felt like this whiplash moment, like it just took you out of it and now you're following a different story, and then you get some time invested in that, and then all of a sudden you're just whiplashed into the other story. So they do a great job with these transitions to where, like I said, it transitions you easily enough into whatever the next scene they're going to follow with our other characters, and vice versa. I think they found that line perfectly, because like I said, that can be a real dangerous line to walk if you're not careful enough, because like I said, a lot of times it'll feel like you're watching two separate movies. But in this one, like I said, they did such a great job with it that you never really feel that. For me, I was so invested in the story overall that I was really curious how these two stories were eventually going to come together and how we were going to, get to the climax of this movie. And speaking of the climax of this movie, I'm not going to spoil anything or give anything away, but this was a movie that when we got to the third act, I could feel myself getting excited. Like I felt myself really leaning forward in my chair. My heart started to race and whatnot. Like I was really feeling that. It was one of those third acts that don't come around in movies for me anymore a lot of the times. Like there's been certain movies throughout the years, and especially when I was a kid, there was a lot when I was a kid that I loved, like a particular third act for a reason that I don't want to get into here, but because I don't want to spoil anything. But they always had those acts where you just really felt pumped up, like you wanted to get into into the film and fight yourself, and really just have that moment where you just wanted to, get up and really cheer and whatnot. And I was feeling that in this third act a lot. And like I said, those movies don't come around for me a lot anymore. But I felt that through this entire third act. There was something all the way through it that had me, gave me that feeling, that emotion throughout it. And there's a scene kind of right before all this kicks off, where it's still pretty much in the third act, where you're seeing this whole battle of Troy, essentially. And it's like these different camera movements throughout the city and whatnot, and these overhead shots and all that, that for whatever reason made me really emotional. I don't know what it was about it, but it just like really hit something in me where I got kind of weepy. Like I could feel my eyes starting to water, and I just felt like so many emotions. And I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. That was kind of a little nice surprise. And that really followed me all the way to the end of the movie. So even those scenes where I was just talking about where I felt like real pumped up, I still had that emotional feeling about me. And that carried all the way to the very end of the movie. That even, like I said, even when the movie ended, I still felt very emotional and very just, I can't explain it, but the movie kind of just moved something in me to where I was like, man, I was not expecting that. And that was a really nice surprise for me. It was just something I wasn't expecting, and I just love that a story can make me feel like that, because there's a lot of stories nowadays. I search for stories like that. I search for movies. That's the reason I go to the movies, and I love to have those type of feelings. Like, to me, like hasn't been a movie that made me feel a certain way since 2019 when I saw Bradley Cooper's version of A Star Is Born. That movie in particular I love that movie. I went to the movie like probably 10 to 12 times to see the different cuts and whatnot of that movie, because it really moved something in me. And I'm not saying that the Odyssey did that on like nearly on the scale that movie did, for example, but I'm saying it is nice to have movies like that from time to time that will hit something in you that really hits you emotionally that you were not expecting. And this was one that, like I said, was just a really nice surprise for me on the level that it made me feel. And this is just one of those movies, and like same with directors like Christopher Nolan and like directors like him and Denis Villeneuve, and people of that scale who make movies like this. As somebody that would like to direct something at some point in their life, even if it's just a small short film or just a short that's 5 minutes or so that probably nobody will ever see. But you look at a movie like this and you really think about how they directed it and how they did these things and the scale of it, and you're like, man, I don't ever stand a chance. So it's really cool just to certain people really inspire me to really want to make films and stuff even more. And Christopher Nolan is just one of those guys that is one of those people for me, because it's just like, it just amazes me and blows my mind that people like that can make films on this type of scale. And I will be completely honest, this type of genre of movie is not my typical type of movie. It's hard for me to really get into movies like this. I've just never been like a swords and sandals type movie person, and I've tried to watch a few here and there, but I could just never really fully invest myself in them. But after watching this, I do really want to go back and watch some more and check out some more that I've tried to watch in the past. But for whatever reason, this story just captivated me. Like I was truly, pulled into the story, into the movie from the beginning. And as the movie went on, as things started to unfold and come to light and start connecting together and whatnot, I just found myself more and more and more invested throughout the movie went, to where by the time it got to the end of the movie, this is one of those movies for me that just felt like a great, rewarding cinema experience. That I just found myself really enjoying myself more and more and more as the movie went on. And one of the things I really found fascinating about this movie as well is that I like the fact that it's really a story that has these complicated characters in there. There's a lot of thing through not only our main character, but with our other characters as well. But I love how, this whole story is essentially Odysseus' story. Like it's all told through his eyes and whatnot. And I just think that I like the fact that he's really not a hero per se, but he's kind of a complicated character. He has that like moral gray area to him, but you still care about his journey and care about where he's going to go and the things that he's done, because you do feel things for him and you do feel a certain way. And I do like that it kind of captured that. And I'm sure that the original story captures that as well, if not better. But I do like the fact that that was brought into this movie. Like for me, this movie, even though it has this epic journey scale to it, it's really not about the journey. It's more about our main character's tough decisions and this weight of the consequences that he's made. That's something that I really appreciated that they put into the story, into Matt Damon's character. Now I'm sure in Homer's original story it's a lot more impactful and a lot more maybe detail and stuff like that in there than what they did in this movie. But I feel like what they gave us in this movie and how Matt Damon went around portraying that and how his character you really feel that, a lot of that in this movie. I felt like he did a really good job of bringing that to life, and so did Christopher Nolan. Like I said, it might not be as in-depth as the original story, but I do like the fact that it is in this movie, and to a degree that we still care about this character, even though he's not the greatest person in the world. Again, that was one of those things that I was really not expecting, but like I said, I knew nothing of the original story or the source material or anything like that, so really all of this movie and the whole mythology about it and the legends and whatnot, you name it, all that stuff is brand new to me. Like I am completely illiterate with anything of this story, but after watching this movie, it is a story that I would be very interested to kind of deep dive into and read it myself, just to see what the differences are or how much deeper the story actually is and things like that. Now moving on to my mixed elements and or negative elements about the movie, and really I don't really have a lot, but the only one that really comes to mind off the top of my head is I feel like there's a lot of wash, rinse, repeat moments throughout this movie. It's very, our characters get to one island, get off the boat, something bad happens, back to the boat. Our characters go to another island, something bad happens, back to the boat. So that keeps happening kind of throughout the movie at certain points. So I feel like for a lot of people that can kind of get repetitive really quickly, because you're like, okay, I feel like I've seen this, or I feel like I'm watching the same thing over and over and over again. So I feel like that can get a little bit old for some people. And I know a lot of times this movie is 3 hours, so there is a lot of kind of to go over in 3 hours, and that can be kind of daunting for a lot of people. A lot of people are not really fans of long movies. I've kind of grown to the fact accustomed to long movies because I've just been to so many that really now when I see runtimes for movies, I'm like, it's whatever. It is what it is, so I'll happily watch it. But to me, I think if you have a decent sized story to tell and like enough to really flesh out a 3 hour movie, then absolutely tell the story that you need to tell. And this movie, I think, does that. I don't feel like there's a lot of filler or anything throughout this movie. But like I said, those scenes of those wash, rinse, repeat, I know that can kind of, like I said, can kind of get old for a lot of people. But this isn't like one of those movies where you felt like you had like a maybe 45-minute movie and stretched it into an hour and a half. It's not that type of film at all. And it doesn't have that feel to it, thank God, because I can't imagine trying to stretch something if you had 30 minutes of material into 3 hours. I just feel like I don't know what you would do with that. So I'm grateful this is not one of those type of movies. But I feel like the 3 hour runtime can be a little bit daunting for some people, and the whole fact that like I said, it has a lot of those elements of the same thing kind of going back and forth and happening a lot of the times. I felt like maybe that can kind of take people out of it, and maybe people won't be so interested in the story. But for me, even though I had those thoughts watching this movie where I was like, okay, I feel like we're going to be doing the same thing again, or what bad thing is going to happen now, the storytelling was still really good and still kept me intrigued. And it was interesting to see what kind of new thing they were going to get themselves into on this particular island, or what they were going to run into, or what horrific thing was going to happen that time around, and how they were going to get in, or how they were going to get out of it, for example. So I think all that mixed into it really pushed it through for me, where I didn't really feel like I think my negatives for this movie are really more nitpicks than anything else. But I know for a lot of other people, they can look at that and be like, yeah, no, it's just not for me. Now, the last thing I want to say on this movie and or this review before I sign off is that all this controversy that's going on about this movie and whatnot, I don't really understand it. I don't get it. I really don't know why it's such a big deal. I mean, people take movies and Hollywoodize them all the time and make the stories their own and cast people that they want to cast for those stories. I get all that. I understand if, you're mad because, like, there's a lot of stuff that, in the original story and source material is not there, or they changed it around and whatnot. That I can understand, because it happens with a lot of people who love books and they adapt books into movies. That I can understand. The people that were cast in this movie took a job, just like anybody else would. A job to work with Christopher Nolan. That is a job that I would absolutely take in a heartbeat if I was given that chance. It's just one of those things where I know people have issues with a lot of things. I get that. I totally get that. I totally understand that people have different opinions, and that's perfectly fine. Like I've said in every other video that I've done here on my channel, is that's the beauty of art. Everybody has different opinions on stuff. But going out of your way to just straight up bash a movie that, one, either you haven't seen, or just because of who they cast in it, or anything of that nature, and calling it just trash because of that, go touch grass. There's more to life than just sitting around being miserable all the time. If you genuinely did not like something, great. If you love something, that's also great. Like I said, that's the beauty of opinion, the beauty of art, blah, blah, blah. But like the amount of stuff that's going on about this movie in general is just mind-boggling to me. At the end of the day, it's just a movie. Like, it is just a movie. People go to the cinema to be entertained by film and storytelling. And that's what this movie is to me. This movie is a great story. It's very entertaining. And it tells, it's just a great adventure story from start to finish. And it's escapism for me. And it is for a lot of people. So as for me personally, I don't know. I don't see the big deal. I try not to, read into a lot of that stuff, because it is just more irritating than anything else. And I'm not trying to give my energy and my time and all that stuff into all that, because at the end of the day, I just try to ignore it, move on with my life, because I'm here to tell you about the movie in general. And I'm sure I'll be called a woke person or a paid person because I enjoyed this movie. And let me tell you right now, I am not paid. Have you seen my channel? I am so low on the totem pole when it comes to YouTube channels. Yeah, getting paid is not even an option. So that sure as hell didn't happen. I'm just a fellow film fan who went to the movies and had a good time and enjoyed the movie. That's all there is to it at the end of the day. If you like the movie, you like the movie. If you didn't like the movie, you didn't like the movie. Let's let people enjoy what they enjoy, and if you didn't enjoy it, then that's your opinion. If you enjoyed it, that's also your opinion. Especially over something that is just a movie. Like, at the end of the day, no matter who directed it or who did what with it or what studio it's a part of, it's just a movie. So that's all I want to say about the controversy side. I at first I wasn't even going to address it, but I was like, fuck it, I'll just put it in here anyway. But there's that. But at the end of the day, this is a movie that I would absolutely go check out in theaters. I think it's totally worth your time. It's totally worth your money. This is a movie that is made to be seen in the theaters. Sadly, I won't get to see it on the 70mm IMAX as much as I would like to, because I live nowhere close to anything like that. But I did see it in the Dolby cinemas, so if you do have a Dolby or any kind of theater around you that has like the maximum like sound or anything like that, definitely go see it in that, because it's worth it for the music and the sound and the visuals and everything, all that. It's made for a theater like that. And it's a great story. It's a great story with a lot of action adventure and all kinds of great storytelling in it, and it really has a lot of escapism. It really kind of take you out of the world you're living in for a while and put you in a different world, And movies like this are the reason I love going to the movies. I love seeing movies, and really made me fall in love with cinema to begin with.
I think it's asleep.
So if you're a fan of Christopher Nolan, I would say you're probably going to enjoy this movie. I think if you've enjoyed all of his other work, I don't really see you disliking this one all that much, but I mean, I could be wrong. You never know. But for the most part, I think you'll really enjoy it. And like I said, it is totally worth your time to check it out. So thank you, everybody. That is my review for the Odyssey. If this is the review that you're finding me on, please come over to the channel and check out all my other 2026 reviews so far. I'd love to have you over here. I'll try to leave a card somewhere up here for my playlist for my reviews this year. I never know which corner it's going to be in, so I'm just over here doing this for no reason. And please comment below and let me know what your favorite Christopher Nolan movie is. I'm very curious. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so very, very much.